Namaskar Kolkata, Namaskar India. Today, the map that we've lived for the last 70 years is literally shaking. I mean, it's literally shaking. If you're sitting in your living rooms in Garyahat or Salt Lake, and if you're thinking that the PoK is just a headline, well then, ladies and gentlemen, please wake up. The PoK revolt has just begun, and it's reaching a point of no return. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about a full-scale bloodbath at Rawalakot. We are talking about an army, the Pakistan military, turning its own guns on the very people it had once claimed to have been protecting. Now, what if I tell you that the end of PoK isn't a theory anymore? It's a countdown, and in the next few minutes, I will show you why Islamabad is right now terrified. I'll show you the math of how they stole the elections and why the people of Mirpur and Muzaffarabad are now shouting for Azadi from Pakistan. Well, ladies and gentlemen, stay with me, because what you're about to see has been blacked out by the internet ban in Rawalakot for the past 6 days. Listen guys, this is serious. Is Pakistan losing control of PoK? Well, that's the big question right now. We've seen the videos, unarmed protesters being shot, over 50 people killed as protests intensify. The unofficial injury count is crossing 400, and this isn't just a law and order issue. This is a civil war-like situation. I repeat, this is a civil war-like situation that Pakistan is facing. I'm Ilmaz Syed, and you're watching Rashtrix. In the next few minutes, I'll tell you why the Field Marshal of Pakistan, Asim Munir, is now facing his biggest nightmare. Rawalakot has become the epicenter of this agitation. Imagine this, a massacre on a Sunday. 35 people shot dead in cold blood. And the reason? Because they wanted bread. Yep, they wanted bread. Because they wanted electricity. Because they wanted basic civil amenities. And because they wanted their voices to have been heard. The Shahbaz Sharif government and Field Marshal Asim Munir, they have unleashed a crackdown that would make dictators blush. They have banned the Joint Awami Action Committee, or the JAC, and that, my friend, was the spark that set the whole forest on fire. Now look, this violence didn't erupt overnight. Ato shohoj noy, in very simple terms. It wasn't this easy. This is a culmination of years of simmering anger amongst the people. We are talking about economic distress, governance failure, and what locals call heavy-handed interference by the Pakistani security establishment. For years, Pakistan portrayed itself as the voice of Kashmiris. But that has failed. Today, the entire Pakistan occupied Kashmir is pushed to the brink. The human cost is staggering. There are reports of security raids where Kashmiri families are being harassed in their own homes. Over 450 civilians, ordinary people like you and me, they have been detained. They're calling it an operation against miscreants. But a human rights group, they say it's a strategy to suppress dissent before the upcoming elections in July. Now, here's the question. Why is JAAC so dangerous for Islamabad? Because they finally got their act together. Earlier, you had small groups. The students were protesting separately, the traders were doing their own thing, and the transporters, since PoK is a tourist hub, had their own demands. Because they were fragmented. They had zero political power because things were not in their favor at that point of time. But in 2023, they made a brilliant move. They formed an umbrella organization, the Joint Awami Action Committee. Suddenly, they became a unified force. They started doing political activism, and that brought the Islamabad government to its knees. And what did Pakistan do? They didn't listen. They banned them, they declared them illegal, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is pure stupidity. When you ban a peaceful movement, you turn it into a revolution. And that's exactly what's happening. The Jack leaders, Shaukat Mir, they have issued a voice message that Rashtrix has accessed, where he calls for a peaceful movement but accuses the authorities of a shoot at sight order. Can you believe it? Shoot at sight against your own people? This, ladies and gentlemen, is the reality of Field Marshal's rule in PoK right now. Now let's talk about the upcoming July elections. This is where the entire plot thickens and changes. The PoK assembly has 45 seats, but here's the scam. 12 of these seats are reserved for refugees. These 12 seats are the clean sweep zone for the Pakistani military. Historically, whoever Islamabad wants in power, they use these 12 seats to ensure a puppet government. If you win 12 out of 45 seats through manipulation, you've already killed 20% of the local representation. It makes the entire democratic process a whole big farce. The JAAC demanded that these 12 seats be dismantled. They want genuine representation, not a puppet prime minister sitting in Muzaffarabad taking orders from Rawalakot. But Islamabad doesn't want that. So here's the question. Why does Islamabad need a puppet? Because PoK isn't just land. To them, it's the resource. Not for coal, not for minerals, but for jihad factories. Jihadi factories. Donald Trump calls Asim Munir his favorite field marshal. For what? For massacres in Rawalakot and Mirpur. The reality is that there's a massive gap between the geopolitical game and the ground reality. Trump might want Munir to mediate with Iran, but on the streets of PoK, Munir is seen as a tyrant. The Pakistani military is closing communication links. They have shut down internet, mobile services, just to avoid scrutiny. Why? Because they don't want the world to see the terrorist bases they maintained along the line of control. Blackman, a UK MP, he has been calling this for decades. There are bases. These bases are the real reasons Pakistan won't let PoK go out of control. They fear that a normal civilian government in PoK might actually expose these factories to the entire world. If evidence is gathered, Pakistan is exposed. So they crush the dissent, they kill the voice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's be blunt. Pakistan's most important natural resource is jihadis. That's how they operate. And PoK is the manufacturing plant for these jihadis. To keep these jihad factories running, you need absolute control. You can't have the JAC asking questions and where the money is going or why there's no drinking water when the military is building bunkers. Or the Ministry of External Affairs in India has hit the nail right on the head. They have called the police brutality a desperate attempt by Pakistan to cover up its own failures. It's a pattern of fake news and deflection. While they talk about Gaza, they're silent on the bloods on their own hands in Rawalakot. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the irony of Pakistan. But ladies and gentlemen, the world is staring to watch. 50 British MPs have written to the UK Foreign Secretary. They are flagging serious concerns over the oppressive actions in PoK. They are demanding the restoration of the internet. Even those who historically supported Pakistan's stance are now raising questions. When our own sympathizers or when Pakistan's own sympathizers tell you that you're committing human rights violation, you know that the game is up. Blackman says it's clearly the Pakistani occupation of Kashmir is illegal. He says that the military should leave and the human rights should be restored. He even suggests that Pakistan should code the valley back to India, as in they should give the valley back to India, where it has always belonged and where it rightfully belongs. So here's the question. Is PoK coming back to India? And here is the question that we should keep Islamabad asking. To keep Islamabad awake, the question that we need to ask is the line of control finally fading? We are hearing reports that people in PoK aren't just shouting for Azadi anymore. They are looking across the border, they see the tourism in J&K, they see the trade, they see the hydroelectric power plant, they see the business opportunity, and they see a region back in the fold of democracy. And then they look at their own reality. Day 6 of no internet, no food, no water, and the army shooting at innocent civilians. Is a massive movement towards the Indian border brewing? Is there a secret plan in New Delhi? Let's find out. The contrast is blinding. On one side, you have PM Modi eclipsing records of service, talking about development and tourism in a beautiful part of the world. On the other side, you have a rogue nation struggling to keep its grip on a population that has enough. Pakistan is trying to play the mediator for Trump, but they can't even mediate with their own traders and transporters. The Jack has literally exposed the vulnerability of the Pakistani state. By banning them, Pakistan has made things worse, and worst of all, they have made the JAC into martyrs. The instability is only going to grow, and as it grows, the calls for PoK to wrest control away from the occupiers will only get louder. In the coming months, what's going to happen? Listen, my dear friends, let's be very, very clear. This isn't just about a ban on a committee. It's about the identity of Kashmir. For decades, the Pakistani narrative has been about self-determination, but today, they're brazenly denying that the very right to the people of PoK. They are denying them basic amenities, they're denying them democratic procedures, they're killing them for asking for bread. The All Eyes on Gaza brigade has suddenly gone mute. But we're not mute. Rashtrix will not be mute. The people of PoK are shouting. They want to go back to where they belong. They want to go back to Bharat. They want to come back to India. They want to come back to Bharat. And Pakistan, it's high time you start hearing. The end of PoK is just not a slogan anymore. It is becoming a geopolitical necessity. As the instability increases and the world realizes that the extent of human right abuses that's going on in PoK, the pressure on the Pakistani military will become unbearable. Asim Munir, you need to hear this. Asim Munir and his army can try to hide behind the communication blackout. They can try to hide behind America, but the truth has always seen a way of coming out. PoK is shouting for Azadi from Pakistan, and this time they mean Azadi from Pakistan to go back to Bharat, to come back to India. The shockwaves have started, and it's not going to stop until the map reflects the reality on the ground. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Ilmaz Syed. This was the Raisina Wire, where we are telling you what the reality is for Pakistan. Thank you for watching Rashtrix, and don't forget, comment your views. Should PoK come back to Bharat? Should PoK be an integral part of Bharat where it has rightfully belonged all these years? Should the map change finally? What do you think? Let us know in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. This is Ilmaz Syed, and you're watching Rashtrix. Jai Hind.